Welcome to the Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast with Forrest Kelly.
Hi, this is Mark Stephen Porro, and I am joining Forrest on the Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast.
The Best 5 Minute Wine Podcast.
I am now an official, a published author, former or retired actor from Hollywood. Currently live in the historic center of a little village called Pezenas, and it's filled with architectural, political, and art history. It's just a very cool little place. I fell in love with it and put the offer in, and they accepted it, and a couple years later, I moved here.
So the reason I wanted you on the show, just fascinating background of all the things that you've done, just hearing you explain about the influence of your mother, and then tell us a little bit about your mother influence.
The book that I wrote is called A Cup of Tea on the Commode, and at 55, I became a first-time parent to a 90-year-old, sharp-tongued, guilt-tripping, stubborn as all get-out lady who was also funny but could barely remember my name, and that was my mother. So that was my first kid.
Was she from New Jersey?
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey. I was living in LA at the time when she had this, we called it a near-death experience, and she was living in the house that we all grew up in Ridgewood, New Jersey. And so all her kids flew home, and luckily a few weeks later, she snapped out of it, and I decided to play a bigger role in her life and for her last few years. So I moved back eventually to my childhood home and took care of my mom.
Okay, so when you tell us about how your mom was, I was wondering about the New Jersey, because I've been to Jersey a couple of times just as a tourist, and I definitely see the attitude and the swag that people from New Jersey bring that's not normal here in Southern California, that's kind of laid back. So there is a contrast.
Yeah, a bit. I would have to say there's enough of us that have moved out to California, so it wasn't a big adjustment for me going to LA. It was when I went to the Ohio State University for college, and that was a huge adjustment going from Jersey to the Midwest, and so that took some while for me to chill out a little bit. So that was an interesting contrast. Well, it's rare for a son to take this on. I had 5 other siblings, and circumstances just worked out where I was able to leave LA. I had to go back there every few months to care for I had a snack food business that was a national brand that my brother and I started to honor my dad. If I was able to go back every few months, I had my own factory in LA and produce enough product to satisfy our current stores. That was fine, but mom took priority. So it was very good. Mom trusted me, my siblings trusted me, and I think being a son, I took a little more of a romantic approach to it. I wanted to make her feel special and pretty, and I learned a lot of interesting things, but one of the main things I learned was wanting to feel pretty doesn't fade with age. So if you want to charm a mother or your loved ones who may be older and we think these little things don't matter anymore, I bought her a new wardrobe, and then I recreated the beauty parlor experience that I knew she loved at home, and little touches like that just made our time together pretty special, and she loved it, and it was infectious. Everybody that saw her saw how well she was taken care of and how happy she was, so it was very cool.
Wow, that's impressive that you were able to get a new wardrobe for her, and you picked out something that she enjoyed.
Yeah, I didn't want her looking like a typical old lady. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but she had her old day dresses and night dresses were all these tattered things and dull colors and stuff like that. So I wanted to jazz things up. What was kind of fun, and also I think is on point with your podcast, is I introduced her to red wine. I always had a glass of red wine with dinner, and she was pretty much a teetotaler her whole life, and so was my dad. But I got her to drink red wine at dinner, and she enjoyed it quite a bit. It was lovely. And then she started doing some things that maybe led her down a dark path, because she started cheating at cards and stealing my ice cream and things like that. So I thought, okay, maybe this wasn't such a great idea.
Where did the British influence come in the title of the book, the tea and the commode? Those are kind of...
Well, her favorite beverage was a cup of hot tea, skim milk, no sugar. At this point, she was bedridden, so we put a commode bedside. Sometimes Mother Nature took a little longer than was comfortable for either one of us on the commode. So kind of as a joke one morning, I said, would you like a cup of tea while we're waiting?
Yeah.
And she said, sure. And it became a hit. I call the subtitle in the book is My Multitasking Adventures. And Mom was also a multitasker. So she was drinking her tea while taking care of the business on the Commode. And so it was, I thought, a catchy title that came out of the writing and a practical thing that became a nice ritual for us.
The best 5-minute one podcast.
Don't forget my favorite part.
Please like and follow. Oh.